Alright guys, out here on October 4th, I think, yeah. Shelling corn here, first field of corn we're running. This got started about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago. Took the ends off and running here. This is about our toughest looking field. They weren't able to strip till it last fall because we had tile lines in it and wanted to chisel it, and we did. But then it just couldn't get the weather to play in our favor. Play in our favor this spring up here, so kind of let it in. It's not turning out too bad for what it is. All the corn that was planted early, like this stuff here, is real short, but kind of wet till the June started, and then turned off hot and dry in June, and then in July it was still hot, and it got a little rain there at the beginning of July. Obviously gave me a bunch of trouble making second cutting hay. And then August actually cooled off and got more rain in August, and I think that's what saved everything this year. Corn likes cool, wet weather, and so that really helped it out. My hair is pretty short right here. A lot of this stuff barely to the floor of the cab. I remember harvesting there in the shed, in the farmstead up there. I'd probably been at least 10 years ago. Riding with Dad. I wasn't very old. Yeah, I'd probably been 15 years ago. I had the 9700 there shelling corn, and that's not a terribly tall combine, but it's still about 12 and a half feet tall. And I remember the corn was over the top of the roof on the combine. But I don't think it still made 200. It didn't even make 200 bushels, like 195. It'd be great for silage, but it wasn't. But for yield, you know, this stuff here is probably, hopefully it's still doing over 200. Still got some green in it though. It's only about 16% moisture, which is fine. Means it kept the plant alive long enough to fill the kernel and keep test weight up on it. Rained earlier today. It only had probably a tenth, but stalks are still a little chewy. Kind of nice this year. Started in on some 16% corn. Usually we're starting about 20%. We did the math last year. It was dry and it was header shelling and everything, but we could, for what it would cost to dry it down at like 220 bushel an acre or something, it was, we were money ahead to harvest it at 15 or 16% and lose a little to header shelling than it would be to harvest it at like 18% and pay the drying on it. And we don't have any bins or anything. Don't dry it ourselves, but it's alright. We mess with enough other stuff. We don't need to mess with bins too. And the elevator's a short haul, but times they'd be nice. Sometime like 2009, really wet year here, and I don't think we hardly harvested any corn that was under 20%. And it just took forever to dry down, and it would have been nice to have it drier that year because the elevator would open at 7 o'clock and then they'd be closed by 9 o'clock because they were full of wet corn. They just couldn't dry it fast enough. Sister's running the cart and Dad and Grandpa are hauling. Real nice harvesting this dry stuff. It goes through the machine real easy. Don't have to worry about stuff plugging up or anything. Got a chance of rain the rest of this week around here though, so I don't know how much corn to harvest there. Well, of course they were calling for 1.5 inches between last night and this morning, and that obviously didn't turn into anything. It all went south of us, and I doubt they got more than a couple tenths south of us. Down here in the quarter mile, as it flattens out through the field here, it's not too bad. But it's good black dirt. It looks pretty good. June is what killed it, I think. It was hot and dry. Bean yields have been pretty good for what we expected this year, better than expected anyways. Got about half the beans, a little over half the beans cut. But beans like, turn the fog up in here, beans like hot, or not super hot, but dry weather anyways. They do a lot more tolerable to it. Been waiting on the window here. Really humid out. Corn head's working good. Real happy with it. It's not near as wore out as the 960. Actually, it's not hardly wore out at all. 963 was getting about to the end of its life. Good looking ears laying right there on the snout, so. Some people got cameras that, showing the inside of the auger wagon there to you can feel it better. Obviously we don't have that, but the 9700 is kind of nice. You could actually, if you're using that tractor, you could actually see a reflection in the window on the cab on the door. And it would, and you could see how full the cart was, and you could just gauge by that on whether you need to pull forward or slow down. But the auger sits pretty far back on that combine, so. I'll probably do it here for shelling corn. Have plenty of more videos to come. Probably have one more bean cutting anyways whenever we get back to beans, and have some of the corn harvest and whatnot. So, well, thanks for watching.